Triple H just made the worst booking decision in modern WWE history. What happened at NXT No Mercy 2025 between Oba Femi and Ricky Saints wasn't just a championship match, it was a complete burial of everything we thought we knew about sports entertainment. The controversy surrounding this match has the entire wrestling community divided, and I guarantee you'll be furious by the end of this breakdown. Before we dive into this absolute train wreck, let me ask you this, and I want you to comment below with your honest answer. Do you think WWE deliberately sabotaged one of these superstars' careers? Because what you're about to see will make your blood boil. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Wrestling Zone 1, where we don't sugarcoat the truth. What transpired between Oba Femi and Ricky Saints for the NXT Championship at No Mercy wasn't just controversial, it was career-defining in the worst possible way. The sheer audacity of this booking decision has left fans questioning whether WWE even understands their own product anymore. Let's set the stage. Oba Femi, the towering powerhouse who's been absolutely demolishing the NXT roster for months, walked into No Mercy as the dominant champion. This man has been an unstoppable force, crushing opponents with such brutal efficiency that even seasoned veterans were shaking in their boots. His reign of terror had reached legendary status, and rightfully so. Femi represented everything intimidating about professional wrestling: raw power, calculated aggression, and an aura of invincibility that made grown men question their career choices. Then we have Ricky Saints, and here's where the controversy begins. Saints, while undeniably talented, was positioned as the underdog challenger in what should have been a straightforward David versus Goliath narrative. But WWE's creative team had other plans, and those plans have sparked the most heated debates in wrestling forums across the internet. The match itself started exactly as everyone predicted. Femi dominated early, showcasing the devastating power moves that had made him the most feared champion in NXT history. Saints absorbed punishment that would have hospitalized lesser competitors, yet kept fighting with the heart of a true warrior. The crowd was electric, genuinely invested in what appeared to be a classic championship encounter. But then came the moment that has everyone talking, and I mean everyone. At approximately the 12-minute mark, something happened that completely changed the trajectory of not just this match, but potentially both men's careers. I'm talking about the most controversial referee decision we've seen since Montreal 1997, and that's not hyperbole. Here's what went down, and brace yourself because this is where things get ugly. Saints had just connected with his signature move, looking to capitalize on what seemed like his first real opportunity of the match. The crowd erupted, sensing a potential upset in the making. But as Saints went for the cover, referee Jessica Carr made a count that has sparked more controversy than any officiating decision in recent memory. The first slap of her hand hit the mat, 1. Normal speed, nothing unusual. The second count came down, 2. Still within acceptable timing parameters. But then, as Femi's shoulder came up at what appeared to be the 2.9-second mark, Carr's hand came down for the third time, and she called for the bell. The arena exploded in confusion and outrage. Now here's where it gets even more infuriating. The official announcement declared Ricky Saints the new NXT champion, but replay footage clearly showed Femi's shoulder rising before the 3 count. The crowd was split between those celebrating Saints' apparent victory and those who witnessed what looked like the most blatant fast count in championship history. But wait, it gets worse. Instead of immediately addressing the obvious controversy, WWE officials allowed the celebration to continue for a full 3 minutes before any clarification was attempted. Saints was handed the championship belt, confetti fell from the ceiling, and his music played while thousands of fans sat in stunned disbelief. The backstage politics behind this decision are absolutely mind-blowing, and here's what my sources are telling me. Apparently, there was significant pressure from corporate executives to create a moment that would generate social media buzz and mainstream attention. The controversial finish wasn't a botch, it was intentional. They wanted people talking, arguing, and sharing clips across every platform imaginable. Tell me in the comments, do you think WWE deliberately manufactured this controversy to boost engagement? Because the evidence is overwhelming. What makes this situation even more maddening is how both competitors have been affected by this creative disaster. Oba Femi, who had been positioned as an unstoppable monster heel, suddenly looked vulnerable and human in the worst possible way. Not because he was outfought or outsmarted, but because of questionable officiating that made his dominance feel manufactured rather than earned. Meanwhile, Ricky Saints finds himself in an impossible position as champion. Every defense, every appearance, every promo will be overshadowed by questions about the legitimacy of his title victory. The wrestling community has already started calling him the *champion, and that's a stigma that could follow him throughout his entire career. The immediate aftermath of this match was absolute chaos. Femi, clearly believing he had kicked out in time, refused to leave the ring for several minutes. His genuine confusion and frustration were palpable, and for someone who's typically so controlled and calculated, seeing him visibly rattled was both shocking and heartbreaking. Saints, to his credit, seemed equally confused by the rapid sequence of events. His celebration felt forced and awkward, as if he himself wasn't entirely convinced about what had just transpired. The post-match interview attempts were disasters, with both men giving responses that felt scripted and hollow. Here's another question for the comment section, and I'm genuinely curious about your perspective. Should controversial finishes like this be used to advance storylines, or do they damage the integrity of championship victories? Because this decision has created a mess that might take months to clean up properly. The technical aspects of this match, beyond the controversial ending, deserve recognition. Both men delivered performances that showcased why they belong at the top of the NXT food chain. Femi's power display was genuinely intimidating, with moments that had the audience gasping at his raw strength and athleticism. His gorilla press slam that transitioned into a power slam was particularly devastating and drew legitimate "holy shit" chants from the Denver crowd. Saints demonstrated incredible resilience and ring psychology, selling Femi's offense in ways that made every move look potentially match-ending. His comeback sequences were expertly timed and executed, building crowd investment in what should have been a feel-good underdog story. The chemistry between these two competitors was undeniable, making the controversial finish even more frustrating for everyone involved. The crowd reactions throughout this match told a fascinating story. Initially, they were firmly behind the dominant champion Femi, appreciating his impressive athletic displays. But as Saints began his comeback, you could feel the energy shift toward supporting the challenger's heart and determination. By the match's conclusion, the audience was completely invested, which made the controversial finish feel like a betrayal of their emotional investment. What's particularly infuriating about this entire situation is how it overshadows what could have been a career-defining performance for both men. Instead of discussing the incredible athleticism, storytelling, and crowd engagement, we're forced to analyze referee timing and corporate decision-making. That's not what professional wrestling should be about. The ripple effects of this controversial finish are already being felt throughout the entire NXT roster. Other competitors are questioning whether their own future championship opportunities might be subject to similar booking decisions. The locker room atmosphere, according to Backstage reports, has been tense and uncertain since this match concluded. From a business perspective, this controversy has generated exactly the type of engagement WWE executives probably hoped for. Social media metrics skyrocketed, wrestling news websites crashed from traffic overload, and mainstream sports outlets picked up the story. But at what cost? The integrity of championship lineage and fan trust in fair competition might be irreparably damaged. Let me pose one final question before we wrap up this analysis, and this one's important, so make sure you answer in the comments. Do you believe WWE should acknowledge the controversial nature of this finish in their ongoing storylines, or should they pretend nothing unusual happened? Your answers will help shape how we cover this developing story. The aftermath of NXT No Mercy 2025 will be remembered as a turning point in modern sports entertainment, but probably not for the reasons WWE intended. What should have been a celebration of athletic excellence became a case study in how controversial booking decisions can overshadow incredible performances and damage the careers of talented competitors. Both Oba Femi and Ricky Saints deserved better than this mess. They delivered everything asked of them inside that ring, only to have their efforts overshadowed by questionable creative decisions that prioritize temporary buzz over long-term storytelling integrity. This situation perfectly illustrates the ongoing tension between sports entertainment and legitimate athletic competition. When controversial finishes become more memorable than the actual wrestling, something fundamental has gone wrong with the product we all claim to love. Make sure you subscribe to Wrestling Zone 1 for continued coverage of this developing story, because I guarantee this controversy is far from over. Hit that notification bell, share this video with every wrestling fan you know, and most importantly, let me know in the comments whether you think WWE made the right call with this finish. Your engagement drives everything we do here. The wrestling world is watching to see how this situation develops, and Wrestling Zone 1 will be here to break down every twist, turn, and corporate decision that emerges from this absolute disaster of a booking choice. Until next time, keep fighting for wrestling that respects both the performers and the fans who support them.